This is Robin on the Road, your concierge for all things travel. And today I'd like to take you on the road with me to Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Orlando, Florida. Grab your bags, let's go. On a recent on-the-road trip to Orlando, Florida, I had the opportunity to stop in to Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum, or as Ripley would have called it, an auditorium. He was an American icon, fascinating man who was born in 1890 in Santa Rosa, California. He will travel for 35 years and go to more than 200 countries and territories, looking for the unusual, unexplained, and odd. He did not want to be thought of as a carny, but a seeker of the truth, the unbelievable. He was a cartoonist, explorer, reporter, adventurer, and collector. He will coin the phrase, believe it or not. Ripley will pass away at the age of 58 in 1949. Growing up, Ripley's oddities were featured on so many TV shows. I'd expected to see the two-headed cow, two-headed turtle. I'm still mulling over the headless chicken. But additionally, what you learn about is Ripley's life, his incredible life. As you enter the auditorium, the first display you see are the fertility statues, carved in the 1930s in the Ivory Coast of Africa. Since 1993, they have traveled the world, and if the stories are true, been very successful at helping women to conceive. I remember seeing them on shows like That's Incredible. Needless to say, I did not touch the statues. In fact, you can't have a Ripley's in Orlando without a display of alligators, crocodiles, and other underwater occupants. I learned that there was no end to animal oddities, in fact, or human-animal oddity hybrids, like the croc-tooth man. Throughout the museum, there are several interactive displays, including this one on tribal maps. Yep, that's better. As you know, fellow traveler, I love to hit the road, but visiting my friendly neighborhood cannibal will not be a future road trip video. It does demonstrate, though, how far Ripley was willing to go to bring unique cultures and people and the unbelievable to folks who did not travel the world at that time. From the beautiful to the creepy bizarre, every display will capture your attention and make you want to learn more about what you're looking at, even your kids, believe it or not. In 1933, Ripley visited Egypt and other African nations. Egypt must have been a treasure trove to Ripley. But beyond the pyramids, pharaohs, and mummies that people wanted to read about, he also told us things about, well, camels, including the saddle he rode on. Ouch. The discovery of King Tut's tomb gave the country Egyptitis, and Ripley helped to satisfy their interest in all things Egypt, including the morbid curiosity about mummies. of all kinds from everywhere. Included in the museum is even a little bit of Hollywood, the Amun-Ra from Elizabeth Taylor's Cleopatra. Parents, watch out for this display. It's so very well done that even after watching several people, it still made me jump. Maybe let the little ones watch and decide for themselves. This one's a bit more mild. Before the age of TV, computers, and cell phones, people were looking for something unbelievable. It was the era of the sideshow, and P.T. Barnum was famous for his. But Barnum was something of a carny, and even though some of his acts would make a fortune like Tom Thumb, he wasn't above perpetrating a hoax like the Fijian mermaid. Found, supposedly, in the Fijian Islands by Dr. Griffith, the mermaid was billed as real, and people paid their good money to see her. Ripley believed that the truth was better than fiction, and while he would still tell about the freaks, as they were called at that time, he didn't want to make things up. Considered a great showman, Barnum will join the Bailey brothers and form the Barnum and Bailey Circus, which over time will become less of a sideshow and more of a performance. While Ripley will consider himself the truth seeker as opposed to the carny of Barnum, there is no doubt that both men exploited people for their deformities. However, society is beginning to change. Whether it's the showmanship of Barnum or the truth-seeking of Ripley, life for some of these people must have been very challenging. Some become famous, like the lion-faced man, Stephen Bobrovsky, who has a toy created after him. But like him, most do not live long, either due to the disease that gave them the deformity and will shorten their lives, or maybe life as a less than human is hard. Or maybe it was their talent, like sword swallowing. Of course, you can't have a sideshow without the fat lady, and then naturally the human skeleton, and of course the strong man. But some stories were so tragic, like that of Frida Pushnik, who was born without arms or legs because they were amputated during an appendectomy on her pregnant mother. Some of the performers became famous, almost legendary, like Chang and N. Bunker, Siamese twins who somehow managed to get married, have children, a life. Consider that the next time you don't feel like cooperating. Standing just 25 inches tall, General Tom Thumb can sing and dance. The world falls in love with him, and he becomes a superstar, meeting the Queen of England and the President of the United States. There are several super fun interactives in the sideshow area. Be sure to stop by and check them all out. The next room gives you a small idea as to the collection that not only Ripley collected, but what has been added since his death. Even crime was not outside Ripley's interest. And really, that's not a surprise. This was a time of the machine gun wielding gangster, and none was more famous than Al Capone and his St. Valentine's Day Massacre. John Dillinger was a machine gun wielding bank robber, but his death mask and the morbid tale of his violent death after his violent life is a cautionary one. Of course, with so much crime, there have to be prisons, a place you hope no one wants to be. So naturally, the prisoners try to escape. One of the most famous or mysterious of those escapes was from Alcatraz. During Ripley's time, these criminals were famous. They had glamorous lives. For us, they're infamous as bank robbers and mob bosses. Everything they touch turned to death. Maybe things would have been different for these criminals if they would have been born during medieval times, where innocent or not, you were going to confess before your death. think that's enough crime and torture for now, so let's move on to something more positive. How about space and the amazing flight of Apollo 11? Our first, but hopefully not our last trip to the moon, with Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. We have totally stepped into modern times now because you are in, guess what? The selfie room, where you and your family can take pictures with some of the famous members of Ripley's museum. Believe it or not, that just never gets old. Things to know before you go. Ripley's, believe it or not, in Orlando is located on International Boulevard, close to Universal Studios, and is open Sunday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Tickets can be purchased online or in the lobby of the museum, and prices depend on the experience you choose. Allow at least 2 to 3 hours to view the museum. There is a gift shop located inside. There are several interactive games and devices for people of all ages, and I noticed as I walked around everyone enjoyed getting on them. It enhanced their experience and their learning of what Ripley was trying to tell them. I recommend going early if you would like some additional time on these devices. Orlando is a tourist destination and there is a place for every budget, but I won't lie, it is expensive. But there are bargain hotels up to 5-star resorts, restaurants for every budget and taste. If you drive, beware that the roads all around Orlando are tolled, so think about purchasing a SunPass. Orlando International Airport is about 15 minutes away from most tourist attractions. Lastly, I'd like to thank you, dear traveler, for joining me on this adventure to Ripley's, believe it or not, in Orlando, Florida. I thoroughly enjoyed the museum as a family destination, and it's a nice way to get away from some of the theme parks. Children of all ages will thoroughly enjoy this museum. Now please smack that bell and subscribe, as I wouldn't want you to miss any road adventures. And check out my latest video on the Garden Fest of Lights at the Lewis Ginter Botanical Gardens in Richmond, Virginia. This is Robin on the Road, your concierge for all things travel, and I hope to see you out there on a road of your own. Until then, safe travels.